All right, we should be live now. I hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody is excited for a bunch of fun matches that we got. I am Just Fold, and this is going to be the second Blades of Finesse Championship. I'm Just Fold, like I said, joined today by Knight411. Knight, how are we doing today?
Hello, doing pretty well. Looking forward to a good night of PvP.
It's definitely going to be a good night of PvP. We've got a lot of good games going.
Blades of Finesse Championship. I'm Just Fold, like I said.
Got a little echo there. All right, that should be good. Yeah, so I'm really excited for the lineup that we got today. For those of you that had tuned in for our previous Blades of Finesse Championship, you're gonna see like a lot of familiar faces of the competitors that we've got. So joining us, on the production side is going to be Margin, and our competitors today are SoCam, S2IVI, Thornius, and Grand Summoner One Trick. Now, the way that the pairings worked is that based on the Swiss records of all our competitors, we got seeded into a top 8 bracket. And after we play our top 8 matches, we did come out on top with SoCam as our number 1 seed, who's going to be up first, up against Grand Summoner One Trick, and as the 4th seed. And then after that match is complete, we're going to be basically jumping into the match with S2IVI and Thornius as our seeds 2 and 3. So then you'll notice that if based on like our last competition, that 3 of the same top 4 that we had last time did come back around for this series. So I think I'll let you kind of opine about it, Knight, but I'm thinking that like what we're gonna see today is gonna be very much kind of like an evolution of the meta that we saw in the last event. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to see a lot of the same builds as last time. If we're going to see some different stuff. I know last time we didn't have a ton of counterattack. I don't know if we had any in the final 4 anyway, so I'm not sure how that being banned is going to impact the builds that people bring in.
I think among the top 4 players, there was more like a what I understood was there was more like a gentleman's agreement not to use counterattack. So for those of you that don't know, in our house rules for this second Blades of Finesse tournament, what we did decide that for the health of the metagame, we were going to put a house ban on the skill counterattack and like all of its iterations. It didn't really make that, like I said, didn't really make that big of a difference in the top 4 in the last finals. But it was like really prevalent among the top 16 and among the Swiss games. So I don't know if you how you felt like it really like affected the metagame. I didn't do as well in the Swiss rounds as you did, Knight, but I felt that like just I saw like a lot of different types of builds, and I saw I'm excited to see some deities, and I still haven't really seen any Grand Summoners. But I pretty much just got a mix of like every class, and it felt like overall that the counterattack ban was a good choice, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I also saw a lot of different varieties of builds throughout my rounds in the tournament. It's interesting because last time I don't think I faced a single counterattack build either, but I know they were definitely prevalent throughout the.
The thing with counterattack, it's like it's a strong build, but like it's one of those things that if you have to build against it, and if you don't, then you just automatically lose. And so I think the idea with the rationale behind the ban is that it just counterattack just seems to warp the metagame in a way that I know that others feel, and I also feel this way, that it kind of like narrows like what's viable, and it just kind of makes the I think the overall meta like less deep. So I'm really excited about the overall, I thought it was an improvement. It's probably will be identical from last finals to this one in terms of like its impact on the kinds of games we're going to see. But overall, I thought it was a good change. I think, going out of the Swiss and coming into top 4, we saw like, again, we've seen like a lot of the same competitors that are going to make it here. But interesting to note is that last time around in our first Blades of Finesse championship, it was S2 that did run the clean sweep, and his kingdom mate SoCam is looking to do the same thing for this one. And I know that they went 2-1 when they fought in the Swiss rounds. So it could be really like anyone's game. Like, I have no idea what to expect from like Grand Summoner One Trick, or just One Trick for short. Thornius, I think is gonna have a thing or two that we got cooked up. I'm like just excited to see some like really high level games. So let's check in with our competitors and see if we're ready for our first match. So like I said, for the itinerary, it's going to be that we're going to start with SoCam and One Trick. We're going to be playing best of fives for each set as a best of 5 games. And then we're gonna do SoCam and One Trick for our first set, followed by S2 and Thornius. And then for our third match, we're going to do a third place tiebreaker, where we're going to take the loser from each of those sets, are going to play for third place. And then once that's complete, we are going to wrap up with our grand finals. I'm excited for some high level games. Let's check in with our stream production and see if we are ready to go. We are good to go. All right, so right now it looks like are we viewing SoCam, it seems. So we're going to be getting into game 1, set 1 of the top 4 of our Blades of Finesse Championship 2. Just want to wish everybody good luck, and I'm looking forward to it. Okay, we did get the ready from SoCam, get the ready from One Trick, and we're good to go. So Knight, are you what are you kind of like expecting out of SoCam? Because you had actually fought him for the top 8 placement match. How did that match go?
Well, it didn't go well for me, that's for sure.
That's
I fought him in the top 8, and I fought him earlier in the Swiss rounds as well. He was one of my losses, badly.
So you got the pleasure of playing against SoCam twice. Wow.
Yeah, I knew exactly what to expect, getting thrashed as soon as I was in the top 8 as the 8th seed.
Okay, well, it's a tall order when you're going up against SoCam, and we're going to see how One Trick does against it. All right, looks like we did get the go-ahead, and we are ready to go for game 1, set 1. All right, does look like SoCam is going to take a foresight advantage, is going to go first. Looks like SoCam is on a Gilgamesh Ursa Oracle build.
Yeah, and then One Trick is on Bayo Ariga Raider. That's an interesting combination.
I saw
that's the tanky combination that zeroed out.
Yeah, because he's got Parapet and 50% status duration for the Amity. That's interesting. So like, I think like there's like, while you're doing the setup turns for like all the like the defensive like temporary buffs, the deific channels, like there are some like windows where you can get like one shot, and I think that's typically how you play against like the mega tank build. But that's that's really nice to have on top of the status duration, which is kind of like a required thing for the mega tank build.
Yeah. Looks like SoCam got a little unlucky getting that def double down on his mimics. And he gets zeroed out.
Yeah, his Sortie got zeroed out. So he doesn't really have the same kind of penetration that you'd have from like a Swash or a Blade of Finesse. It looks like One Trick is pretty content just to keep buffing stats. And let's see, I think, are those all the damage buffs that SoCam has on this one? Because I mean, he's got attack 1 and 2 and Gunner, and then still got
penetration. It's interesting that he brought Sortie 2 instead of horizontal slash.
Let's see.
He loses game 1.
Alrighty. So it did look like we did get One Trick as the winner of game 1. So this is an interesting setup, because we did have with the G Ursa Oracle build, I noticed that it was 2 different 40% crit Amities. But the really cool thing that I noticed about this is that he's got, for the legendary traits, he's got 20% Parapet and the 6% follower block. So it looks kind of like the idea is just you've got the counterattack passive with Gilgamesh Ursa. You've got Parapet. You got Pet Block. It's just lots of damage. Hope you go first, and then just just hope those blocks come in clutch and basically win you enough turns that you can get through.
Yeah, absolutely. I missed Sokum's Amity. Is it the critical damage pet blocking Parapet?
So if I'm not mistaken, Sokam's Amities were 40% crit, 20% Parapet, the one from the River Casino party. And then I believe it was 40% crit and 6% follower protect. That came out of the Orna Legends Amity party, if I'm not mistaken, just like a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, that was last week. And that one, as it's ornate, had 10% Parapet.
Saw that. I saw how high movement that was, and I wanted to, but just something about just like driving or walking back and forth.
Sokum's tried for it. It looks like he end up getting lucky.
Yeah, in this match, it does look like Sokim really. I mean, it's just kind of how the Mega Tank build works. He's kind of just looking for windows where we don't have the Deific up. That's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, Sokum. Yeah. I really don't know why he brought Sword 2 here. It's a lot worse than Horizontal Slash.
Horizontal Slash is probably like the higher. Is that the highest penetration? Kind of like one-hit attack besides the Blades of Finesse skills, because you don't have access to Ren DP, of course.
Yeah, Horizontal Slash 3 is a.
Alright, Sokim got the second chance. He's at 2 HP. Oh my god.
Uses Wisp Seal just to survive his curse. And doesn't survive.
That. All right, that is going to be 2-0 for One Trick. All right, that's I think if you had asked me who's going to how these sets are going to go, I think this would definitely have come to a surprise for me at least. What are kind of Sokam's options here? He's just rush the damage and just hope that the Phoenix doesn't get the Blessed Shield or the Deific proc in time.
The way his loadout looks, I think his option is hoping that the next matches go better.
He's free. He is immune to status and to status effects, which is looks like is going to be kind of really the only option. Try to prevent him from getting the barrier to make the stats any higher. But One Trick already has the Deific and the Blessed, and you can't freeze and Gunner at the same turn. Otherwise, so just. It does seem like the right pick was the Mega Tank build in this round. Ooh, got the sleep immunity though. We could, because you could always, even though if you think you're about to lose but you still got turns, you can always use those turns to check immunities. And we did get to see the sleep immunity, which I found in my rounds. I did lean pretty heavily on Assassin's builds. I did find that sleep and stun, maybe not stun less so, but definitely sleep immunity is just one that just kind of gets passed by. So that is going to be a 3-0, a clean 3-0 from One Trick in that first set.
Wow, yeah, we'll see how Sokum adjusts his build and what he takes in for game 2.
All right.
Or, set 2.
Okay, so we've got 1-0 for One Trick. Are we? Let's see.
Yeah, Sokum was in a tough spot there. Really, no matter what status is, he stacked on One Trick to try and stop him from getting defensive buffs up. The pet was always going to keep acting. There was no stopping that. And so he was on a constant clock that he really couldn't keep up with.
Did you notice that that the Phoenix, there was a couple turns where it didn't act? I always remember that with Phoenix, I would notice that I needed tons of follower act in order to reliably get access to the Deific proc, and it seemed to me that the One Trick Mega Tank was just a little shy of being consistent with the Deifics. I don't know if you noticed the same thing.
Yeah, he was definitely sacrificing some pet act, probably for some other things. We know he had the Phoenix casting Blessed Shield, so he's using one piece of gear for that.
So for those that don't know quite how that build works, the idea is that you use a good amount of pet action rate along with the chest from I believe it's Thronemaker Neath from the Thronemaker's event, which gives your pet the option to cast Blessed Shield, which gives you double defense and resistance up. And so when you stack them both, and like you're doing golems and you're doing barrier, and you have good gear, you really just put your defense at a point that, like, unless you have crazy penetration, you're just not going to get through. And it's not like SoCam had a build with low damage. I mean, it looked to me like his build was probably set up for like amazing damage, but just also while also having the parapet and the block thrown in. So it's just going to be it's not enough. We might need to like bring more damage or to switch things up for the next time around. But let's okay. So we are getting the go ahead that one trick and SoCam are readied up for set 2. So yeah, I wonder if I'm wondering if one trick is gonna stay on the mega tank, because just you got to think that, like, okay, I got block zeroed out. Now can I just switch off because I think he's going, my opponent is going to do like a higher attack build, who knows really. So we're ready for these guys. They are going to get into it, and we are going into set 2.
Oh, it looks like he might still be on that mega tank build. He's still Bayo Origa.
Okay, but we are on, I do see Ren DP, so that is going to be a Blade of Finesse spec. Looks like he changed up the Amity too. That's interesting. So we are on a Blade of Finesse spec in order to kind of get the higher penetration. It does seem like one trick is going to be on that same mega tank build. So the idea is going to be that, like, hey, do we have
the collateral damage build?
All right, that was a good mix-up. So the collateral damage build. Do you think we're at like a 100% collateral damage, or what do you think there?
The fact that he's using an Arisen Labrys instead of like a Celestial weapon makes me think he's at 100%. Or at least close to it.
I know that I don't know the passives of Arisen Labyrinth. Could you break that down for us, and how's that work?
Yeah, I'll have to double check.
Gives like collateral damage chance, right?
Yeah,
got an important lock here.
It has a 10% chance, along with obviously 14 adornment slots, to load up with adornments to grant higher collateral damage.
Wow, okay, so one trick is fully stacked with golems, with Blessed Shield, and with all that damage, it didn't quite zero out the Ren DP, but it was enough that it bought him a turn for the Phoenix to take him back. So if I'm not mistaken, we are now 1-1 in set 2.
Yeah, this is going to be a close one. It's a matter of whether that Phoenix will cooperate with Blessed Shield, I think.
Right. Well, it doesn't help when you do Ember Seal. Looks like there's an opening here. And that is the opening he's looking for. Okay, so with the Phoenix, it's there's a little bit of RNG to the build, because you don't always get your DFIP proc and you don't always get the Blessed Shield. Sometimes the bird just whiffs, and we did see that for game 3. So we're now 2-1 in SoCam's favor. This was a good mix-up. You got to think that, like, I'm sure. So one thing we didn't break down is that one trick and SoCam, and funnily enough, S2 are all in the same kingdom. Okay, so we did just see SoCam take that one out, and yeah, that's just the turn 2 collateral damage.
It's interesting too. He only did 34k, which was almost not enough to take out Grand Summoner one trick.
Wow. So like even
really close.
That's some high defense there. That's for sure. Is there? I wonder if there are other builds that like have the same kind of penetration to kind of get through. I think I remember speculating in the last finals that the what was it? The Gods of Aru, the deific like a mage build. I wonder if if that was a build that could do it, because you would get the great meditation from the chest slot and the deific proc. And
it's tough because no matter how many buffs you use, nothing is gonna up the M1 or the penetration of your skills.
That's right.
There are two things. If you did maybe a Bayo Hydrus build, you might be able to get a really high penetration first 4 in. I could maybe do something. Or, I won't say who brought it just to avoid giving it away. Someone had a pretty spicy Celestial Arrow build that I faced.
That's a pretty high, especially when you can turn it into a one-hit skill. That's like a pretty high, that's a pretty high option.
Yeah, it was one hit Celestial Arrow, 1 turn, I mean. And it was a good build. I still won that round, but I liked the build.
I do remember, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Gods of Aru build that Sokim had last time. I remember, I think that was, I could be wrong, I could just be remembering it wrong. I think he had that as like the finisher, and I wonder if like that's probably overall like way stronger than like Ultima as your damage option. Not sure though.
It is better. It's more damage than Ultima without elemental weaknesses, but people are immune or resistant to holy damage.
Okay, so we are getting the go-ahead that Sokim and One Trick are. Let's see. It looks like let's see. I'm getting the ready up from Sokim. I think we might still be waiting on One Trick. So yeah, I did want to point it out that this top 4 is an Alpine Kingdom dominated top 4. It's pretty cool to see. Like we last time around, it was pretty much Sokim and S2. Oh, looks like we're getting in. So we do have One Trick also joined to us by the Alpine Kingdom.
He's now on Gilda Ursa.
Oh wow, and One Trick got the Ornate too. Wow. Okay. And the other Amity, for those of you that were this is one that came out of the River Casino party, was 50. It's really good. We know. Wow. Okay, so just to kind of break down what we're seeing, it looks like One Trick did move over to a Gilgamesh Ursa build, running something pretty similar to what we saw from Sokim, if I'm not mistaken, because we're on Oracle.
Yeah, Sokim in round 1, I believe, brought that, or something similar.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting. Let's see. That was Sokim for game 1. Who had the foresight advantage? I missed that. Let's see. I'm gonna guess it's Sokim just because I know that I'm pretty sure right now it's 1-0. Right now is 1-0 for Sokims in game 2. So yeah, it is Sokim on Raider. Oh, interesting. I wonder what the idea for Raider is. So are we? It looks like is Sokim on the Mega Tank build himself? Is that? I think I missed the class. Oh yeah, it looks like he is.
He might be.
Wow, interesting. So they just kind of reversed it. Now, and of course, because we do have 3 of our top 4 that are all from the Alpine Kingdom, you got to think that like they're using each other as like practice partners, have a good idea of like what each other's builds are, and if one of them has a build, you got to think that like it's at least an option that all 3 of them can kind of pull out a similar build. I wonder really how much they're holding back from each other. That's something I've kind of thought about. If we'll see. All right, looks like we did find Frozen and Miasma for. Looks like One Trick did find that for status immunities for this round. That could come in pretty clutch. I wonder if it's worth, instead of going a buff on turn 1, to go freeze on turn 1 and try to beat out the barrier.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to see if Grand Summoner One Trick is using Sortie 2 or if he's using Horizontal /3.
Let's see.
Trying to wait for him to use one of those skills. Looks like right now he's still trying to status Sokim. I guess he's waiting for the DC to drop.
I'm surprised the bird hasn't hit yet. On that Sokim's Phoenix hasn't hit.
Bird keeps missing.
Pretty low. They're both pretty low. Oh, the freeze immunity did fall off. We'll see what he does. I wonder if he has the penetration to get through here. He probably doesn't because he doesn't have Gunner up. So that's that would probably lead me to think that he just has no hope of getting through the wall once it's set up.
Remember, Gunner still doesn't add to penetration. Nothing adds to penetration.
I keep forgetting that, but thank you. I think One Trick is hoping for just status effects, but did not get it in time. That is going to be.
Gave up.
Yeah, so that's going to be 2-0 for Sokim, and without it's like if you put the Gunner up, you might have a little bit more damage, but you also take way more damage from the Phoenix. So it's like your damage buff kind of gets you at that point. I do want to point out the foresight from SOCAM in this build, because that weapon, if for those of you that don't notice right away, that is, if I'm not mistaken, the Celestial Quarterstaff, which among the Celestial weapons has absolutely the highest foresight. I believe it's around 360 at level 20. I think that's right.
Yeah, it's meant to be the summoner weapon.
It's meant to be the summoner weapon, and it's also just happens to be, if you're not trying to attack or anything, you don't need damage from your weapon, then it's all you need is foresight. That's just what you use.
Yeah, this was a brutal round for Grand Summoner One Trick. He just goes out very quickly.
Just didn't have an answer to the wall, and the thing, it's kind of similar to like if you come on in, you don't have an answer to the counterattack. It's just, you know, you kind of get hosed by like high defense, and if it's not in the skill kit when you're coming into a set, it's not like you can't really switch out for a horizontal slash. You can't switch out for more damage. You just there are some sets that are like coin flips, and there are some sets where like it's almost determined by like which build the person is happens to be going in with. Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, that's what is that 2-1 in sets for SOCAM?
Yeah, right now we're in 2-1 in SOCAM's favor.
All right, SOCAM bringing it back, asserting himself as the #1 seed out of Swiss rounds. I think there's a number of builds that like I know that like worked for me in Swiss that I felt like would be kind of strong in this setting, but like I'm not really like one thing I think I'd like to see is I'd like to see some realm shifter avidity strategies, because those I feel like are another like really strong option that I mean, like in a meta dominated by Gilgamesh Ursa, it doesn't really come out as much. But I know that I saw and like personally used to some good effect the some like really kind of crafty Dorado strategies. All right, yeah, so we're
going in.
Yeah, it looks like we are getting ready up for SOCAM and One Trick. Looks like we are gonna go into it for set 4. These guys are just gonna blow through it. Let's go.
I did have a base realm shifter build that carried me through into the top 8. I'll be doing a build breakdown of that later.
What's the rationale behind base realm and Dorado realm?
Well, I'll tell you later because we're getting into the games.
All right, you'll have to save that one for in between next set. Looks like SOCAM is gonna be up first. Looks like we've gone back to the Ursa build.
Yeah, I'd assume Grand Summoner One Trick is probably on the collateral damage build, with SOCAM on the Oracle build.
So we are on Gilgamesh Ursa Oracle versus Gilgamesh Ursa Blade of Finesse. Very interesting. SOCAM once again with his foresight advantage. That's probably not going to change throughout this set.
Yeah, these guys train together and they build together, but they share a lot of builds, and SOCAM has the best foresight gear, I think.
Got an important pet block. Oh, is that a? Oh, wait a minute. That's not Gilgamesh Ursa. That's that must be Hydrus, right? Because the pet died.
Oh, that was Hydrus.
Wow. Okay, so we're on Hydrus. Yeah, I totally missed that. This is Hydrus Blades of Finesse versus Ursa Oracle.
Absolutely not collateral damage from. Oh no, it was Gilgamesh Ursa.
Is there just no pet? Maybe that was just that could have just been a visual glitch. Yeah.
Wait.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna watch.
Yeah. We'll see what's going on here on this one.
He doesn't have a pet. He forgot.
He doesn't have a pet. Okay, that's interesting. That was I don't know if that's meta, how meta that is. But
unless this is like a what is it? That weapon you can buy during the Aru event.
You know, so that's Eastern Regalia.
Eastern Regalia. Do you think? Yeah. Do you think he actually brought a Regalia build?
It must be. It must be either. Yeah. No, I'm gonna say it's gotta be. All right. So that is what 2-0 in SOCAM's favor.
Yeah. That collateral damage is that well.
Now, I did notice that One Trick did bring the Amity that's 40% crit and 4% HP regen, and I just want to kind of break down the thinking behind that. It's less effective against collateral damage, which can just always get the turn 2 kill with a collateral damage proc. But when you're not against a build that has collateral damage, that little bit of HP regen does put you away, like 1 turn farther away from being one-shot, because you do get slightly past the 50% damage cap in the first 2 turns. Okay.
What was that? That was a really low damage sortie.
Wonder what happened there. Yeah, I don't quite know how the Eastern Regalia passive works. Does that buff all stats, like defense included, or is that just damage?
I believe. Actually, I don't know. I think it might have just been damage. Looks like Sokum was that 3-0.
That is going to be 3-0. So, you know, despite the strong set game 1, SOCAM does come back in a commanding way to take that first match 3-1. And it did seem to be the Gilgamesh Ursa show for sure. That is, I think, it's kind of pretty widely considered probably the strongest class. I wonder, there's a good amount of tournament talk going into this event that Gilgamesh Ursa might just be far and away the dominant class, and I think I was always a little skeptical about that, because I think there's a lot of unexplored areas for like Bayo, and especially with the deity rework, which is a new thing that we've had since last time. I want to talk more about that later, but I'm kind of just waiting till we see one of our competitors bring that one out. But yeah, just Gilgamesh Ursa. I think that's how he won every set except for the one where SOCAM also went Mega Tank on that one.
If anyone is curious, I have an Eastern Regalia expert who just DM'd me, Mr./Vito, and he's let me know that it is all stats that are buffed.
All stats are buffed. That's probably what it is then. It's that it's also like it's a way to kind of just get early defensive stats, which is which I mean, I wonder that's got to be strong, because I'm pretty sure in One Trick's player card that was the item. Oh, let's turn that off. Here, 1 second. Okay.
So while S2 here is getting set up, you're asking me about the Realm Shifter build.
Right.
Dorado is definitely the favorite in PvP, with the dodge chance, the status resistance, the increased hit chance. But Realm Shifter brings a couple interesting things, like recharge to ensure that you don't get 2-turned for a little bit of healing without an amity.
Okay.
And then Saboteur to deal double damage to ward.
Oh, do the Realm Shifter Celestial classes, do they have the Saboteur passive, or is it just the base realm?
Just base realm, as far as I can remember.
Oh, wow.
I know Dorado absolutely doesn't.
That's interesting. I had I probably my favorite build during the Swiss was an assassin build with Dorado, and that one it's like it's great against certain things, but then also just loses when against, like, I think for instance like the Mega Tank build. I've fought that a couple times and I just got rolled by anything that could like really stack defensive stats pretty quickly. But yeah, we saw mostly Gilgamesh Ursa out of that set with some Bayo, but I don't think that necessarily means that that's like really the only classes that we're gonna see out of the competitors here. Just because I do think the meta is a bit wider than that. I don't think Heretic is really as well represented, but and I know it just started to kind of get it to work for me in the in some of the Unfelled Battle Club matches. But I think there's some really strong deity builds, especially Deity Ursa, because it seems like the AD class is a little bit more favored. But I'm still kind of learning how the Apex passive works. And maybe when we get up with if like a Deity Ursa shows up, we can kind of break that down some more. But that's like one of the few things that did change in the meta from last time to this time. Not too much else has changed beyond the counterattack passive. I wonder if there's I think that and the Hippogriff raid were pretty new.
Yeah, I fully expect to see Deity Ursa in at least one of these matches, because I know some of the competitors do have them. I won't reveal who exactly, not to reveal anything, just in case.
Yep.
But it's just what they want to bring on a per-match basis, I think. I don't know if anyone's bringing Heretic. Luckily, this round we're going in with S2 and Thornius. It's not an Alpine mirror match, so we shouldn't see the same builds between the two of them, which isn't a bad thing. But.
From all the Alpine guys, and I think like the Mega, I'm starting to see the Mega Tank build come out from other people, but I think like the builds that are kind of like in like your internal testing group aren't necessarily like end up being like the only builds that are like possibly viable, and I think that in like broadly there's like a lot of room for like exploration of certain builds. I know I feel that way about the like basically the Realm Shifter classes, but I think there's a lot of strong DD builds, and I have a sneaking suspicion that there might be like an S tier summoner build that just isn't getting talked about because like it's so unexplored. And I'm pretty sure like I don't know enough about summoner to kind of test it myself, but for any of you summoner mains, just check out High Foresight Assassin. I think that's all I'll say.
Maybe you could do like a one-turn Ultima build with Summoner.
No.
You get that Foresight advantage, always going first. You can have a little bit of summon block chance to help you out.
It really is telling that I think like a big reason why that last match was so dominant in SoCam's favor, even including game one, was just like how strong SoCam's Foresight options are, and he's just really coming in with like just very, very high like Foresight builds that just I think the Alpine guys know that they probably can't contest at that point. I imagine there's like in the internal play groups that these guys have, they've probably like got like the hierarchy, like, oh, okay, you know, I can beat you in Foresight and you can beat me in Foresight, and just, you know, I'm sure they kind of just know what they can and can't try to play for.
Yeah, I tried pretty hard during the rounds to find something that could take advantage of knowing that I wouldn't go first, and I had no luck in figuring out a build that would be happy with low Foresight.
Okay, so Knight, we are getting the ready up from both S2 and Thornius. Whenever these guys are ready, I think we are ready to get into match 2. Now, this is going to be our 2 and 3 seeds for S2 and Thornius. And this did kind of come out in our pre-stream chat. But one thing that was kind of cool to note is that both S2 and Thornius did have identical Swiss records. So it is kind of arbitrary who's 2 and who's 3 seed.
So we have S2 on Deity and Thornius on Gilgamesh Ursa. So there's the Deity you were looking for.
Okay, and we see it paired with an Oceanus pet, and it looks like we are...
Forbid.
I think that's also a this is also a Foresight build because we've got the celestial quarterstaff.
Yeah, he's on Deity Assassin. That was a brutal round 1 there.
Okay, we got the Foresight advantage. We can see right now he's got the Beguiled Mystic Guitar for the offhand. Looks like he's trying for Forbid. Now, does Assassin passive buff Forbid's ability to proc past 50%? Because I know it's 50%.
Absolutely.
Based.
It makes it 100%. Wow. Unless the person has any steadfast, which Gilgamesh Ursa, I don't remember if it does or not.
I don't remember if it does either.
I can check.
Oh, but we got the sleep immunity. Okay, it looks like the Assassin is a pretty strong strategy here. So I'm kind of this seems to me like a really like, and it's not like all Foresight, because you can see that S2 does have like 88k ward. So you know, we've got the Qatar offhand and he's got some ward options. But
looks like Thornius does have steadfast too. So it's, I don't know if S2 is bringing some Autumna gear to boost that chance higher, or if he's just getting lucky that Forbid is landing every time.
I wonder. Can't really tell what's like they could be like both at like 700 to 600 foresight, or it could be like 1200 to 1100 foresight, and it would look the same to us, really. We do know that that S2 is on quarterstaff with Qatar, so that is probably almost 1,000 right there. So yeah, it just seems like whatever possibility there is to contest foresight is just S2 is prepared for it.
Yeah, it looks like S2 is just able to keep throwing out those sleep darts and take his time, buffing up to be ready to probably one-shot Thornius. Yep, right there.
Right there, that'll do it. Was that 3-0?
I believe it is.
Okay, so we did get to see some deity. Now, maybe you could help us out with this. The way the deity rework, that's something that we have that's new from last time around. Now we didn't really get to see the Apex skills come out, but I did kind of run into a few strong ones, and I don't really think I know like the full range of options, but it's an interesting direction for deity. That's kind of, you've got avidity for Realm Shifter, you've got collateral damage for Gilgamesh. Bale has like the pet focus, and Summoner of course has the summon focus. So it's kind of like a new identity to kind of give to deity. But in these sets that are really only taking like 2, 3, 4 turns, you really don't get to like fully charge the Apex. So like in this like Blades of Finesse setting, you don't really get to see these all these skills as long as the matches don't stall out past that.
So there's actually one scenario that can give you a full Apex bar, and that's if you get hit really hard in second chance triggers. Deity, base Deity and Deity Aura can't take advantage of that as well, but Deity Ursa getting a free turn every time he uses an Apex skill, you can second chance and then be able to use Channel
Lawless, right?
Yeah, however you pronounce it. And
it's a mouthful, but it's really strong. I do remember that one being the one that really stuck at me the most, because when the first time I got the Fought at Deity in the Swiss rounds, I looked and I was like, I figured it was going to be my turn, and I'm hammering the attack button and it's still not, and I just said no. It took me a second to even realize, oh, okay, this is the deity passive that I haven't caught up on yet.
Yeah, just get a free deific channel as your second chance procs and try and really hit hard to come back.
So you can get the full Apex when your second chance procs, but otherwise it seems like really in this kind of Blade of Finesse scenario, at least when you're just like full damage trying to get the other guy in like 3 turns, that there's really not enough time for the Apex to come out. But it is kind of like the fallback when the sets go longer.
Yeah, really that. It's just kind of an added bonus. It can't be your strategy. And
Right.
none of all of the Apex skills are heavily nerfed in PvP. That was just kind of something Odie built into them.
Interesting. What are some of the other options besides Channel Lawless? Is there some big like AoE build? Yeah.
Well, there's all of the skills are so heavily nerfed that they really don't deal enough damage in PvP ever. The only other option is Borealis, which gives you triple up on defense and resistance. So that's really good, but it's the same buff as Deific Channel without the attack. So
all right, so we are getting the ready up from both of these guys. It does look like Thornius is taking the foresight advantage importantly this time around.
Yeah, Gilgamesh with the Blade of Finesse. He did say that was his favorite spec.
Alrighty, so we're going in for the damage buff on turn 1. S2 is going to answer. But we're in that window where you can get one shot, and we do with the collateral.
This time.
Yeah. All right, so that's going to go 1-0 in Thornius' favor. I imagine this is going to be a very quick set from both of these guys. Let's see. It looks like S2 was on the Oracle build, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so. An Oracle build with full collateral damage.
Okay, so real quick, that was... Oh, we did get the HP regen, so that was Thornius again for game 2. We are now 2-0 in Thornius' favor, bringing it back.
I think collateral damage didn't proc there from Thornius. He still took S2 out, but I didn't see the second damage. So he may not have it.
All right, S2 tries a freeze, see if you can slow Thornius down a bit. but it did not make the difference there. So that is going to be a quick 3-0 back from Thornius for set 2. All right, we are now 1-1. I don't think I expect. I definitely didn't expect the foresight advantage from Thornius. I think just kind of like what I know of like S2 and Thornius is that coming in from the same SoCam and One Trick Boot Camp, that S2 has a lot of those same like high foresight strategies. But Thornius is here for a reason, and I think we just saw that Thornius has a very, very strong Gilgamesh Ursa build with very high foresight. So we will see what the adjustment is going to be, because really the only adjustment from set 1 to set 2 was just more foresight. I think from Thornius, did you notice much else from S2? Because we were still on Deity, or did S2 switch to Gilgamesh Ursa? I think he did switch to Gilgamesh.
That was Gilgamesh Ursa Oracle on S2's side. They both had full collateral damage builds.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, not choosing to change anything up is a valid strategy, because your opponent's always going to expect you to change something up.
Right.
So just bringing the same thing in these like high stakes finals matches is valid. Like in the lower stakes matches, maybe somebody assumes you only have one build, but all of these guys have multiple builds they can choose from.
I mean, you have to, because
that's why they're here.
There's really not an option to just like be like a one-trick pony and kind of like the highest level of a live PvP, because we do have like maybe like on paper the strongest class is Gilgamesh Ursa, and maybe like these guys have figured out what's like overall the strongest build, but there are always counters. You can run a build that's high in foresight but gives up immunity resistance, or vice versa, or gives up like high damage and then has no defense. So there are always trade-offs, and you got to be able to adjust on the fly. And even within like one build, there are still like lots of gear variations that's gonna make the difference between set to set. And I think that's what we saw in set 2 from Thornius.
Yeah, it's hard to know if he changed anything up.
All right, so we are getting the ready up from Thornius and S2. We are going to go ahead and get into set 3 once these guys are ready. I don't know what the adjustment is going to be.
Yeah, it's always fun seeing what each person is on when the battle starts.
I'm waiting. Here we go.
Orna is still on Gilgamesh Ursa.
Interesting. We're bringing the 5% HP regen and 5% pet block. And it looks like we're back on Deity, so I think it looks like S2 decided that he really wanted to have the foresight advantage coming into this one.
Interesting. He didn't bring the Qatar this time. He had didn't he have the Qatar match 1?
He did. He did. Or is this a two-handed weapon, or is there no like offhand here?
I think he just has an offhand with defend on. There are a few that just have defend.
And we wouldn't then see like which piece of gear that is.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Thornius used Rend DP, but it did get blocked out. Looks like Thornius got the second chance, and with the HP regen, did heal just enough to take that game 1.
That was a second chance.
That Thornius hit his second chance. That's right. Yeah.
They go right back into it.
So it's interesting. This isn't the same deity build that we saw from set 1, because it's not using or maybe it is. We'll see. It's obviously not. Stuff. Yeah. Without the guitar, you want maybe wonder if S2 is losing out on maybe paralyze or freeze. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So he brought the Autumna shield for some increased assassin and that really high defense it has.
Okay, S2 thinking about his options, but Thornius is up for a quick 2-0. S2 does get blocked by it looks like Thornius' Amity coming in pretty clutch here. Thornius is going to bring him to half health. And with a lot of damage, it looks like Thornius is in the driver's seat for this set, even though S2 does have a foresight advantage.
Yeah, Thornius is guarding strikes 4. I've just never seen guarding strikes 4 hit that hard.
Light strike hits for about 5k. That's not going to be enough. Guarding strike gets him to half health. Oh, but he did trigger the deific passive, so that is going to be S2 bringing it back. So we're now 2-1.
Yeah, unlucky miss from Thornius there.
Pretty RNG set, influence set, I think, because we see a lot of pet block and a lot of second chance, and there's like a lot of different ways to get an extra turn here and there from both these guys.
S2 gets an early Oceanus rune, making sure that he always hits.
Bringing it down to like 1k, but gives him a chance.
Way too low of damage. Oh, he's still in it.
Was protected. Oh my god. This is a coin flip at this point.
So much RNG going everywhere, and S2
All
takes
right.
it.
We are now going into game 5. Game 5 of set 3. This could go either way, really, at this point. Like we said, some sets they almost feel like they're determined right from the get-go based on the builds each person brings in. And based on the builds people bring in other sets, it could just be a coin flip, and that's what we got here for sure.
Yeah, a lot of RNG from both directions. S2 must have very high dex with how much Thornius is missing.
Missed him a couple times now, so. Interesting Blight Strike. Is he just trying to apply, like, deal damage and apply the Blight there?
I think so, and S2 takes it.
S2 does take it in game 5 for set 3. We are now 2-1 favor for S2. That's that was an interesting set. I was surprised that what was it? We went 2-0 for Thornius, and then we brought it back in a clean sweep. Is that how that went? I think, right?
Yes. I'm trying to check the stream that's up.
Yeah.
No, okay, the stream I think says that
Wow.
S2 took round 1, and then Thornius took set 2.
That was crazy RNG. I mean, there was tons of like dodge. I think it almost seemed like there might have been like 20 to 30% pet block chance based on how many times those attacks were going to stop down. And it was really just what, like 5% HP regen and 5% pet block as the amity.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's that could have gone either way, but you know, it can go either way, but it can only go one way. And that time it went for S2, so we're now 2-1. Okay. S2 seemed to be finding the most success on that deity strategy. That was deity assassin, correct?
It was. Yeah, assassin is really a fantastic spec for Blades of Finesse. It sometimes I don't think gets the recognition it deserves.
I think people leaned into assassin a lot last time around because you get the counterattack skill. But more important, I mean, assassin is so good of a spec that like you can just lose counterattack but still get 25% more dex and the ability to apply status, and that's gonna be enough to like win like entire like sets for sure.
Yeah, and I mean really that's why counterattack had to be banned. Assassin's already really good, and people are still using the Beguiled Mystic Guitar, even though that's, I mean, they weren't using it for counterattack.
Beguiled Mystic Guitar is, especially the upgraded X version, was just, I think has always been like one of my favorite items in the game.
Yeah.
For those, like it's for those that don't know, it's got like a really strong mix of stats where you get about like 120, 130 foresight, which is good. But you also get really good ward. You got on the upgraded X version, you've got 5 adornment slots, and then dexterity and status immunity, and like really important status immunities too, because you're getting freeze and paralyze, which are 2 statuses that can be applied in the first 2 turns.
Yeah,
so
all of the basic element statuses, you just get immunity to them.
Gotta for those of you at home, gotta hit that event when it comes back around, because it felt like, I mean, if you could really had the time to grind it out, it's like you didn't need to pay for like raids when we went to the raid world for that event. But I know for myself, I managed to score a 199% Beguiled Mystic Guitar, and I like my jaw hit the floor as soon as I got that from that one.
And here I am. I've been here for every single Apollyon event, and I'm using a 169% blue one.
Oh wow. I did get. I mean, I was happy with the 199, and like I already had a strong one from the first time around. That's used way back when in OL2, just a long time ago. Yeah, so I wonder what the mix-ups are going to be. So we're seeing a lot of Gilgamesh Ursa. I wonder, was it Gilgamesh Ursa Blade of Finesse all 3 games from Thornius? Or did we see him?
I didn't touch the spec that he brought game 1 or set 1.
Right.
He did Blade of Finesse for the next 2.
Interesting. I wonder what Thornius' answer is going to be, because it seems like he can definitely get the Foresight once if S2 is on a different build than Deity. I wonder if S2 going into set 3 had just decided that like the mix-up for Gilgamesh Ursa wasn't going to cut it, because Thornius is just definitely not a slouch when it comes to high Foresight strategies.
Yeah, and I wonder, with Thornius probably building heavily into Blade of Finesse, I wonder if S2 could even bring like a Mega Tank build or something that would zero him out. So I'm still not sure if that build can zero out a really heavy attack build.
Well, with Ren DP, if you have enough, I think with Ren DP, as long as you have the multipliers, you can pretty much get through. I would think probably like the highest defense strategies. Like if you like build like maximum damage, you really, I think, don't need to worry too much about like the highest defense strategies zeroing you out. But then you're also like there's trade-offs there. Like you're not going to have the Foresight necessarily, so you can always get outpaced on a Foresight advantage. One piece of gear that did come out that's super important for these Blade of Finesse strategies came from the Hippogriff raid. All right, and the way I think when the Hippogriff raid first came out, I was I know for myself, I was chasing the Wind Tamer boots, I was chasing the Wind Tamer shield, but the chest, the Wind Tamer robe, is a really interesting swash piece of gear, because even at ornate, it has like negative 100 defense. I'll go ahead and I'll talk about that later, but we're gonna get back into it.
Thornius running it back. Gilgamesh Ursa, Blade of Finesse.
Alrighty. S2 with Foresight advantage, but it is on Ursa Oracle. So I think we'll probably see a similar thing that we saw from SOCAM with the Parapet and Pet Block, in addition to the Great Amenities.
And S2 brings Horizontal Slash 3. I still don't understand the Sortie 2 as the first skill. Someone's going to need to explain this to me later.
Alright. Light Strike will do it. That's going to be game 1 for S2. Yep.
It's like they're in both in pretty flimsy builds here, so Foresight's going to be critically important.
Oh, got a good hit, but wasn't quite enough.
Auto
it
counter.
looks like he got him with the was that the counterattack passive that finished him off?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, we can say really cool. I bet Thornius doesn't think so.
So we're now 2-0 in S2's favor. It looks like this is a set point, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and set over.
Okay. So that is gonna do it for set 4. That is going to be S2 taking it again for a quick what was that, 3-1? 3-1 in sets. Yeah, that was the Gilgamesh Ursa show. Yep, I think regardless of what I want to see, it seems like our competitors have really landed on Ursa as the strongest class. I think the counterattack pass, the counterattack pass, it definitely came in clutch there, because I think it probably was otherwise going to be Thornius' game in that one, and who knows if the RNG then like goes in Thornius' favor that way.
Yeah,
interesting.
At least S2 did win 2 of those matches using Deity. So we can see Gilgamesh Ursa may be favored, but it's not always going to win.
It's not the only class.
Yeah.
And the Mega Tank strategy from Bayo is definitely like become pretty much a staple of our probably like our top end PvP meta for Blades of Finesse. But I think like I said, I think there are strategies that are kind of undeveloped. I think one thing that's always stuck out to me is that Beowulf also has really strong assassin strategies, just because you can apply builds and deal damage at the same time, which you can't do when you're like S2 isn't doing that on his deity assassin. And like maybe you can't match the same foresight that you can on like a Beowulf assassin, because you don't get well, actually, you know what? I think Beowulf does get access to the Celestial Quarterstaff too, now that I think about it, because it's you can Valhallan classes can wear it.
Yep.
So those of you trying to just dream up some builds, definitely another avenue to check out is Foresight's assassin strategies on Bayo. Go ahead and check out that Celestial Quarterstaff, because if you don't need to deal the damage yourself, the Foresight will win you games. I ended up creating a Mega Tank build myself, and for like adornments, celestial adornments, which we don't really get to talk about too much on these streams. I know for me, I found that I forget which one, but I know when I was looking up the celestial adornment chart, there is a celestial adornment that gives you negative HP, but gives you tons of defense and resistance, and that's kind of like where I threw in like a mix of that and like in pet action, and that seemed to work out really well for me on my quarterstaff for a Mega Tank build.
So I'm not going to pretend that I remember what most of the celestial augments do.
I know I definitely don't, but if every time like I think about like, hey, I want my staff to like have some action rate and to have some good defense, I'll just kind of go into the spreadsheets and just kind of just compare them all like side to side. And that's there's some augments that probably just are never going to see play, but there's like the staples like extra crit damage, the staples like Selene Hands. There are some sleeper augments that are also like can do really well. I know that Beowulf has a couple pet action rate and like pet stat ones that have like a mix of ward and a mix of action rate or pet stats, one of the two, and that always struck me as like a good like mix up when you're not just trying to go full action rate or go like full ward.
Yeah, definitely. There are a few that are underexplored, and we know eventually they're getting reworked.
Eventually.
Someday.
Yeah. Did I see right that I think it looks like Ursa's gonna get looked at too, or is that do we know anything about what's coming down the pipeline in terms of our upcoming balance patch?
We don't know anything yet, but given that the example Odie posted and that thread to post things in was the counterattack passive, including Ursa, I think we can probably guess that there might be something.
Right. So it's definitely on his radar for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we do have our third place, fourth place match set and our grand finals match set. So for those of you that are just joining us, we did have set 1 go to SOCAM 3-1. And the same thing, we did just have S2 over Thornius for our other half of the bracket. So that does mean that up next, we are going to be looking for a third place tiebreaker match, Thornius versus One Trick. And then that does mean that for grand finals after that match, we are going to be looking once again, run it back for S2 versus SOCAM for grand finals. It's it makes sense. It all comes together. Definitely two of the highest level PvP players that we really ever had. And it was the grand finals last time around was a 3-0 in S2's favor, but we heard from both of them, and both of them acknowledged that like really it was just like a matter of just mind games and could have gone really either way.
And we know that Sokum beat S2 in the Swiss.
All right, so I am seeing ready up from One Trick. Looks like we're ready up with Thornius. Looks like we are gonna go ahead and get into it with Thornius and One Trick for our third place match.
All right, are
Do
you
we
betting
see-
Thornius brings Gilgamesh Ursa Blade of Finesse?
It's a strong bet, sir. It's a strong bet. We'll see though.
The weapons
We'll
are
see.
still warm from last time.
Just because it's Gilgamesh Ursa Blades of Finesse doesn't mean that we don't have like high amounts of like mix-ups in between each one. Okay, so
But
once
same
again,
amity, same class, same spec.
alrighty.
One Trick bringing Pumpkinhead. You love to see that. The highest pet block chance in the game.
Not looking for any damage. He's got to figure he's got enough damage. He's just trying to max out the number of times he can save himself with a pet block. And he is going to go ahead
absolutely
and
has enough
take it.
damage.
Well, especially when you're doing a multi-hit build against a Blade of Finesse, because those are gonna really hit hard. So you don't need that much more damage. Is that a Berserk passive on from? That's interesting. What is? I wonder what that is. Is that? Oh, that must be the Axe of Chimera offhand for the damage up.
Yeah, that'll be coming from his Axe of Chimera.
That makes sense. That makes sense. There is a piece of gear that can do that too from Linkus. Oh, Thornius got the counterattack.
Oh, and a second
saved by
chance.
the second chance. Oh my god. Oh my god. What do we do here? Osmo Strike makes sense. Oh,
And Pumpkinhead deals the killing blow.
we got the second chance, but then the Pumpkinhead does the double tap. So it's not only good for pet block. It's not only good for pet block, even though it is. It's also can work as a pet that does give that little extra tap there.
He's also got Wallop. Pumpkinhead's really, I think, underrated sometimes because Wallop gives defense and res double down.
Okay.
Really quick win there.
Wow. That okay, so that was a quick 3-0 from One Trick there. Just high foresight. He doesn't need that much damage because he's got he's up against a Blade of Finesse. What is going to be the adjustment here? I feel like if you can't beat the foresight and you have no, you really don't have any defenses. The higher foresight Gilgamesh Ursa is just going to be the counter for it.
Yeah, and I think Thornius really has to mix it up. Because right now, One Trick has seen him bring that build so many times.
Right.
I think he has to mix something up or it's probably going to be the same story.
So the ball is in Thornius's court here. See if he's going to change anything up. But yeah, it could just be, and we just from our perspective post game, it's real easy to be like the Monday morning quarterback and say like, oh, yep, Thornius, we should have changed it up, but Thornius doesn't know like that he basically is not going to have the foresight advantage before he plays that set one. But now he's kind of got that information. So we'll see kind of like what's going to be the mix-up going into set two. But we did just go ahead and get the ready up from Thornius and One Trick. So we'll see what the adjustment is here.
Yeah, it looks like both players knew exactly what they wanted to bring into game two.
There hasn't really been too much hemming and hawing in between sets. We do give them about like 5 minutes in between each set in order to do build adjustments, but everybody just has kind of just really been able to switch quick and just kind of just know what they're going for.
Yeah, we have 4 really dialed-in competitors here. Looks like everyone has builds in their loadouts just ready to go. So they can just think of what they want to bring, maybe make some small adjustments, and fight.
Okay, we are getting into it. That is going to
be...
be...
bring the same again.
Yeah, all right.
So I
this
think
is
One Trick did as well.
Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the same set is going to play out the same way. Once again, there's that beautiful ornate amity. That's one I definitely was eyeing, but just the movement was a little too much. All right, that's going to be One Trick going up game 1. Just with the collateral damage and the multi-hit is enough that you really just need to 1 damage buff, and that's it.
I don't remember that. I don't think we saw that one-shot collateral damage builds much in the last tournament. I don't feel like it was as popular.
I think they had talked about it though in like the post interview.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, that's gonna be 2-0 for One Trick. If we're Thornius has been on more or less the same build throughout these sets, and it doesn't seem like it's able to kind of answer the higher foresight and oracle strategies that are coming out from the Alpine folks. So that's going to be set 2. That's going to be set 2, going up 3-0 in One Trick's favor.
3-0 and 6-0. It's Thornius is not having a good time for this one.
Did end up taking one game, and we had that like coin flip game in against S2. So it's not that it wasn't working like at all, but it seems like against this specific Grand Gilgamesh Ursa strategy, that just maybe Blade of Finesse. Maybe if you can't beat the Foresight, we got to try something else other than Blade of Finesse, because you're just gonna get 2-shot against win with the collateral damage passive.
Yeah, we know Thornius. I mean, he's stacked RNG on his side. He's got second chance. He's got auto counter. He's got pet block.
Yep.
But it's just not enough RNG to get over what One Trick is bringing to the table.
Now it doesn't seem like Thornius has access to a strong parapet Amity, because he has been kind of leaning towards the has it been the 5% HP regen, 5% pet block for all these sets, or just
I think it might be, yeah.
I think it has, yeah. So I think a big part about live PvP is it's maybe like a quarter of the game is like what we see like on the screen, but really like what makes these competitors so strong is that they have like the broad options for like items and like a long history of collecting good gear, and just sometimes you just don't have the same options that the other person has, and if you just don't really have a good parapet option, it's just maybe we don't have the right thing. Okay.
Oh no, it's the same.
That's the build. Okay, so this is going to be set 3.
Thornius has the foresight advantage.
Oh, he does. Okay.
There's a difference.
Alrighty. Trying out a Ren PvP. Just because it gets blocked doesn't mean it wasn't the right idea for the first turn. He does get the Mimic's Mischief passive, but does get beat out by the counterattack passive. That must have. I think, especially in the last set, I think it almost went off every single game. It's I think it's 25% to proc on that counterattack passive.
I'm not sure. Thornius got really unlucky that last game. He got blocked, he missed, and then
got hit by the counterattack.
Yeah, he was just done.
Ren DP gets him down to about 15k, but he is still vulnerable to that Realm Strike multi-hit. So that's going to be 2-0. This is going to be match point for One Trick, who's I think has put on a pretty good showing. It's especially for his first time in this top stage. Thornius does miss on the Ren DP. What do we got here? Second chance procs.
Strikes.
This might
his
do it.
HP Amity saved him, but not for long.
Not for long. Okay. That is going to be a very quick 3-0. So congratulations to One Trick. So for the prize pool for this event, we did have 950 scrolls that are being divvied up between our top 8 competitors. So looks like One Trick is going to go ahead and get the third place. You know how many scrolls that is? I'm gonna double check that.
And while you're double checking that, I'm gonna bring up One Trick was using Realm Strikes 2, which a lot of people might not realize how good it is in PvP.
Mm-hmm.
It has very low penetration, so against a lot of builds, you're getting zeroed out. But where it really comes in handy is it has a static miss chance, so your opponent's dexterity doesn't matter whatsoever.
Realm Strikes 2. I don't think I knew that. Realm Strikes 2 has a static mischance.
Yep. So Realm Strikes has a static miss chance of 15%, and Realm Strikes 2 has a static miss chance of 10%.
Mm-hmm. Is that?
So
But that's not the same thing as like Spiked Shield, where
it is exactly the same thing.
it is
as
exactly the
Spiked
same
Shield.
thing.
So it's bypassing all of the dexterity of your opponent. They could be a 3,000 dexterity Realm Shifter Dorado, and Realm Strikes is going to hit them.
And if you add in a little bit of accuracy into your build, which you can get a couple different ways, you can get from like Bestial Bond if you got a Bestial Bond Amity from the Ashen Phoenix pet. You can get it from Rift Rogue gear. You can get Mischance that way. There's also
4% in Amity.
4% on the Amity. That's right, and that's why I think I leaned a little bit into spike shield strategies during my Swiss rounds, and I definitely appreciated the fact that like with accuracy combined with the 5% mischance on spike shield, that you basically always hit. And I don't think I realized until you just said it that actually applies the same way for Realm Strikes. But that's if you can find, and it's not like it's a lot of accuracy that you need in order to get it right. So like. But if you can get it up there, wow! I mean,
Realm Strikes 2, it's a 10%.
Awesome.
It's a 10% static mischance, and against some of these really, really high dex competitors, 10% is really good for how much you'd be missing with another skill. So you can be happy with that 10% mischance.
And it's funny because like the design space for Realm Strike is like, yeah, it's a high damage skill, but that just has like the downside of lower accuracy, but if you're able to account for it, it can be even higher accuracy. It just depends on how you build it.
Yeah, it just shreds anybody who's on Blades of Finesse or Swashbuckler.
Okay, so let's see here. I don't think we're ready quite yet. We're basically getting set up on SOCAM and S2's end for our grand finals. So just to recap, we did have a prize pool of 950 scrolls today. For third and fourth place, One Trick did win an extra 50 scrolls in order to take part of the prize pool worth 150 of the summoning scrolls, and 100 scrolls are going to go over to Thornius. But the bulk of our prize pool is going to be divvied up between our top two competitors. So whoever does win this set is going to win 300 summoning scrolls, in addition to the unique in-game custom title, which for these guys I think is probably maybe even worth more to these guys, to like the bragging rights of being the top dog in PvP. So
yeah, those titles are always special.
Is definitely nice to have for sure. S2 already having his own the champion of finesse title from last time around. I think SOCAM is looking to add that to his resume as well. But we will see who comes out in this set. It could really go either way. I imagine that there's lots of builds that these guys have in the tank that didn't get to come out in these sets, and with these guys, the way they treat it is like a rock, paper, scissors game. We could just, I think, really see anything change from set to set. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's any builds that they kept from each other, because we know they do a lot of extensive testing there in Alpine. But is there anything they try and keep secret for moments like this?
I was in that Alpine like playtest group, and like I was I think I was like the favorite to come on in and win the whole thing. I think I'd hold like one or two like really strong builds back just to surprise the other guy. So yeah, I think there's like a limit to how much they're probably willing to share with each other for sure.
Yeah, because we know both these guys are very secretive with sharing their builds with the outside.
Which I get it. That's not how I like to basically treat my builds. But I'm also not in grand finals. Back-to-back grand finals for the PvP tournament.
You and I both missed these finals for a reason.
That's right. So hats off to these guys. Really, we gotta hand it to them as like just the dominant force in live PvP right now. And I think maybe some people are like want to root for the underdog. That's understandable. But I really always appreciate seeing just the absolute peak, highest level of gameplay, and I know that's what we're gonna get from S2 and SOCAM this time around. Alrighty, so it looks like we got a ready up from SoCam. Looks like we got a ready up from S2. Whenever these guys are ready to get into it, I think we are going to see our grand finals match for the Blades of Finesse Championship, round 2.
On the edge of my seat for these builds.
All right. What do they bring? We'll find out eventually. Okay,
2
like
on Gilgamesh Ursa.
Looks like it is going to be SoCam with the foresight advantage. Or is this? Yeah, SoCam. Okay.
Yep. SoCam leads with a Berserk. Realm Shifter Dorado Raider, our first little bit of Realm Shifter.
Oh, look! Check that out. Dorado Raider. So he's there's a little bit of extra value in the Dorado passive from the little damage you're going to take from Berserk. Looks like we do notice he's not immune to attack down, so probably still has enough damage to get through if S2 is on a Blade of Finesse build, but we'll see. All right, so SoCam is going to go ahead and take that game 1. Did get the extra avidity to turn to boot, even though he didn't need it. Okay, we got to see some Dorado. Woohoo! We did it.
I always like to see Realm Shifter.
Me too, man. Me too. Yep,
Still
and
on Swordy 2. I don't get it. What is with Swordy 2?
it's low mana. It's at least it's lower mana. So I mean, there's not like he's got like only 1,000 mana. So SoCam probably is aware that he has to conserve his mana. He can't just. I mean, it's not that much of a difference, but maybe that's like the break. S2 doesn't quite get enough damage on his Ren DP. Brings him about 10k health, and SoCam is able to answer it back. So that is going to be 2-0 in SoCam's favor on this Dorado Raider build. Very cool. And when you're Raider build, every turn 1 is going to be Berserk just because of how strong the skill is. You lose a lot of HP, but just the sheer stats that you get from Berserk is like next level.
That is why you're on Raider. You don't go Raider unless you're going to Berserk 3 on turn 1.
Now we can see that he's using a weapon offhand. It looks like a celestial bow. Okay, so that's wow, that was a looks like we missed on the Ren DP. And that is going to do it. So we did get a 3-0 from SoCam on the Dorado Raider build.
Right away, we see a mix-up from last time. That offhand, by the way, I believe is one of the Zeus weapons, the Olympia Warbow, which has very, very high dexterity and foresight.
It also, interestingly, has an on-hit passive that you can sometimes proc dexterity up. And then with the Dorado passive, probably my guess for the gear would probably be, especially if like we're on like a high foresight build from SoCam, I'm gonna guess that it's Olympia Thief gear, which from that same event as the Olympia bow. That's this event for you folks that are trying to farm some of this gear here on the Zeus raid. Just high foresight, high dex, high HP. You don't really need ward, especially if you're just going to use a weapon offhand. So just stacking dex and stacking foresight, and that seemed to be the ticket on that game.
Yeah, if you're going to bring a Dorado PvP build, having a lot of that Zeus gear is fantastic because it brings everything you want to the table.
It has a lot of options. The Thief gear seems to be stronger, like definitely stronger than the Warrior gear, but also just if I'm remembering it correctly, just higher dex than the Mage version of the gear. There's options. There's Olympia gear for each of the classes, but the dex, the Thief gear really does stand out as like the best version of that. And the strength of that Olympia gear set is that you have higher foresight in the armor slot, really, than your next best options, which are what? Beguiled gear.
And Beguiled isn't bad, especially the Beguiled X stuff can bring a lot of hit points.
Right.
You kind of trade that in between that and the Zeus. But I think the foresight ends up being a lot better on the Olympia. I don't quite remember.
You just need a little bit, you get the HP, you get the dex, and you get to go above the normal dex cap on Dorado with the Dorado passive. So just that dodge chance when you get Berserk, you're just, especially out of Gilgamesh Ursa build, I think it's probably going to be that like dexterity. I think just from miss chances alone, I think SOCAM won 2 of those 3 games.
Yeah, the Dorado passive itself doesn't care about dexterity buffs in battle, but the fact that you have such high base dexterity anyway, just normal comparing against your opponent's dexterity, they're going to be missing a lot.
Right on. Looks like we are getting ready. Looks like both competitors have readied up for set 2. And we are going to go ahead and get into it. It is SOCAM up 1-0 in our grand finals. What are we going to see? I don't expect to see, just because we saw Gilgamesh Ursa and Dorado from those guys, it could be any class and any spec at this point. These guys are probably just ready with a bunch of different builds.
S2 on Gilgamesh Ursa Oracle and SOCAM on Bayo Riga Raider, so that's the Mega Tank build.
That's the Mega Tank. Okay, and if we, I'm gonna take a stab at how this set's gonna go, because we don't have Ren DP, and if we're still using, wonder if he has enough damage with Horizontal Slash to get through the stats. So importantly, it looks like we got blind immunity, so maybe not immune to stun. The big weakness of the Mega Tank build seems to me has been that you don't really have any immunities for statuses. In which, if you're on Gilgamesh Ursa and you're just on a high damage strategy, that doesn't necessarily matter because you don't really have enough survivability to avoid the Phoenix killing you. But there are other strategies where, like, if you can survive the Phoenix and apply statuses, you think this Mega Tank build is pretty vulnerable to like a tanky assassin strategy, and that was kind of like my thinking in the Swiss rounds.
Yeah, definitely. I think some of that is by design with the Mega Tank build, because it can definitely just eat the statuses and just sit there getting statused.
We're at a high. This could go either way at this point. Oh,
yeah, that was a lot of luck and back and forth there.
All right, we did get the double pet action passive for Bayo Origa. He did have one turn where he casted Blessed Shield, but the second one was damaged and did go ahead and take it. Can you remind me of what the set count is at this point?
I think are we 2-0 for SOCAM?
I think we're 2-0 for SOCAM. Yeah.
It might be 1-0. That was a long match. Okay.
1-0. Okay.
That's our producer.
Margin coming in clutch. There we go.
Glad somebody is in charge of keeping track.
Attaboy.
But it's not us.
Yep. So once again, the just trying to stall out and slow down the wall setup. I think like against this strategy, you really just want to lead out with maybe Frozen and then Miasma. I wonder if if he's not immune to Frozen, he's probably also not immune to Paralyze. So that's probably like a mix you can throw in there. But you only have so many skill slots, so you don't always have the option to throw in like 5 or 6 different status abilities.
Yeah, it looks like SOCAM having trouble figuring out what to do with his turn since Sansevaru won't hit.
Right, but he's got him down to about 1/3. S2 applies the freeze, but we do have Wisp's Heal. But Wisp Heal has to actually proc in order to remove them, which it does not. Oh my god! Block and miss. What do we got? Second chance. This RNG, man. Oh my god.
With a Wisp Seal to stay alive. Does the Phoenix take him out?
Only for so long.
No, blocked.
The pet blocked. S2 is on Amities that do have Parapet and Pet block, so he is building for extra Pet block in his build. But if there's a chance it gets through, give it enough turns, it will get through. So that is going to be 2-0 for SOCAM. SOCAM really making a statement for himself, just saying, hey, you swept me last round, but it is not going to go that way this round. So we're now
right now
2-0
he's threatening to sweep S2.
as we'll see. What is S2's options going to be here? It's like you've already got golems and DFic up, so you're kind of out of range for lethal. You kind of have to just. I wonder if you just gotta go gunner. Just like, hey, I just need the damage, and just like maybe I die or I don't, but I'm not gonna survive for the Phoenix long. So just maybe the extra damage is the right option.
Yeah, S2 has gotten at least lucky, and he's good at staying alive for these matches. But I don't know what staying alive helps him, because he's just sitting there waiting to get killed by the Phoenix every time.
SoCam has all the time in the world when he's immune to damage. And that is gonna do it for a 3-0 sweep in set 2. SoCam going up 2-0 for revenge.
SoCam is absolutely threatening the sweep here, and S2 has to do everything he can to stop it.
Right on. So that was an interesting mix up. It's like SoCam had really kind of leaned into like foresight and dexterity on that Dorado Raider build for set 1, and I think S2's I wonder S2 probably assumed that SoCam wasn't gonna go dexterity again. Otherwise, like the Gilgamesh Ursa choice for set 2 probably doesn't make a lot of sense if you're thinking you're gonna be against like that high dexterity strategy. Just because like Gilgamesh Ursa is really strong, but it doesn't have a lot of dexterity, so that's maybe not the right way to go.
Yeah, and where that wasn't Blades of Finesse build, Realm Strikes isn't going to save you, because any decent build from any other thing that isn't Blades of Finesse will zero it out.
Right.
Your only other hope would be a Spike Shield build, maybe, but we haven't seen any of those here in the top 4.
I'm shocked we haven't seen any Spike Shield. I could have, because like I think there are really strong Spike Shield strategies. Raider in particular. One like I think another build that I found success with was a deity Raider build that used Celestial Loot with a hybrid amity. And with the hybrid amity and all the stats from Celestial Loot, even if you don't have a lot of ward, that Spike Shield just hits like a truck. And that's like that's like another way to try like a Spike Shield strategy. So I think it's even if it's not these guys' preferred choice, I think that's probably another option.
Yeah, Radicor had an interesting Gilgamesh Hercules Spike Shield build that he used against me. Seemed like a really good build. I ended up still winning those matches, but it was a really respectable build that I think, definitely saw a lot of victories for him in other games.
What were you kind of seeing out of that build? Was it like maximum ward, or was it? Do you think he was doing some other things?
The build seemed to be built in a way he was trying to make sure like most people would not be able to hit him hard enough for the Spike Shield not to be lethal. Like they wouldn't take enough ward out. I think he had some absurd amount of ward. I have the VODs, but can't check them at the moment.
I think the most I had a high ward Spike Shield strategy, and I think the most ward I got out of mine was like 236k. But I also don't have a really high percent base suitors cuirass, so I'm sure you could get it to like 250 or 260 with like perfect gear.
Yeah. Unfortunately for him, those were the rounds I was on Realm Shifter Assassin, so after I attacked, he didn't have ward.
Okay. So it looks to me like we've got a ready from S2 and SoCam, and we are good to go. Looks like S2 is going to be on Deity Assassin. We do have Ursa Blade of Finesse from SoCam. Very cool. SoCam once again does have the foresight advantage.
Well, we know Ursa Blade of Finesse doesn't fare too well against this deity build from Thornius's matches, but
yeah, that damage is really low for he's using guarding strikes instead of Ren DP because he's trying to like hold up some ward turns. But he also S2 did apply importantly the forbid double attack down. So even with the blades of finesse like extra attack, forbid is a really strong skill, and if you can hit it, like you just neuter these high damage strategies.
Sokum's not killing S2 as long as he has that double down.
But he did clear it. So let's see. Yeah, and then S2 applies it on the very next turn. Also getting the Oceanus rune passive. So S2 going for an assassin strategy. That same deity assassin build that we saw from him in against Thornius. That did do it. So that is going to be 1-0 for S2. If you can't answer the forbid double attack down, I mean, you just need like a lot more multipliers in order to get like Ren DP to work. Because I mean, what do we think is on like gear wise for this DD assassin build? I would think, I mean, it's SoCam still has the foresight advantage, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like S2 doesn't have any foresight gear on. Or he could just kind of give up the ghost and go with something higher defense.
This assassin build probably can give up the foresight advantage.
Probably can afford to. Yeah.
Always landing a forbid ensures that you can just neuter your opponent's main plan. I'd assume that he's also running the mage equivalent, maybe.
So in that game 2, that we are up 2-0 for S2. And in that last game, we did get the double attack. We did have a second chance proc, but the Oceanus pet did come in and double tap for the last one. Importantly, SoCam is stunned, so there's another status that works against this build. This is looking like S2 sets if SoCam can't change up anything.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's down 2 games and stunned and double attack down and Oceanus rune.
This is looking like it's not looking good for SoCam. SoCam is sitting comfortably up though with 2-0, so we'll see what the mix-up is going to be. And not that we're counting him out on this set, just things are looking a little grim here.
He gets 1 turn without the double attack down and does a lot to S2, but it's not enough.
Yeah, it's if it's not the whole bar, it might as well not be any of it. And so that is going to be a 3-0 run back from S2. That is going to be set 3 going for S2. We are now 2-1. SoCam is still favored, but he's probably not feeling quite as comfortable as he was on those first 2 sets. Looks like S2 does have a good answer to these higher foresight builds for SoCam.
Yeah, S2 proving that he's not going to get swept. He's not going to let this be the reverse of what happened last time. He's still fighting.
It's an interesting change up here. I think it seems like S2 is finding a lot more success on this deity than he is on his Gilgamesh Ursa, just like throughout this whole top 4, not just in this set.
Yeah, Deity Assassin is just a really strong build.
I wonder why, because like, what was the damage? Is he attack or magic focused on that one? Remind me.
I think he's hybrid because when he was streaming, he was wielding the quarterstaff, but he was using Guarding Strikes 4 really effectively.
Okay.
The quarterstaff could be full of Selene hands.
That's true. Okay. Yeah, so I think the hybrid is also pretty important because like especially like because you could always, it was Gilgamesh Ursa in that instance, but SoCam could have just as easily pulled out like the Mega Tank build. And we know that it's really strong against defense. But I tend to find that magic is a little bit lower on the Mega Tank build, and like you'll still probably zero out a lot of like magic attacks. But if you're on like there's some high pen magic strategy, especially with like a celestial loot. You can think like maybe just like burst 4. I mean it's if you're hybrid and you just have verse 4 as like a backup, it's always good when you're on to have both the option for like attack and magic damage, because especially like you'll get into this 80 focus meta that we seem to be in, and where Gate of Gunner is really strong, and you can really kind of like catch people slipping if they're relying on Gunner, and you just are able to just pull out a really high penetration magic damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we didn't see any quick cast builds hitting. I don't know if anyone in the entire top 8 tried a quick cast build, but they're viable. Celestial Arrow, if you make that one turn, it's got a higher M1 than anything else available.
Now, for the quick cast build, do you have to be on Sequencer to get it a one-turn cast, or can you do it with like a two-handed weapon?
No, you are hard locked into Sequencer with 5 Oceanus hands.
And that's the only way to really get it reliably.
Lungs.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can do it with a two-hander and 6 Oceanus lungs. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the numbers offhand. It's not guaranteed. It ends up being close to guaranteed, which for many people means it's not good enough.
That's really strong for Gods of Aru, but that kind of does leave in like a design space, kind of like it kind of leaves Walls of Aru out in the cold, right? Because you can run Sequencer and like the Oceanus Celestial Augments, but then you won't have any wards. So like, what's Wall of Aru going to be do? So
nobody really wants one turn Divine Bastion.
Not really. Theoretically, in a vacuum, it seems strong, but like if there's not really like a good build to put it in, which you're not going to have if you're on Sequencer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get a ready up from SOCAM. I think S2 is also ready, or actually we're waiting for the ready up for S2. So we are getting close to set 4 in our grand finals. So man, I wonder.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's noticing some of these are some of the longer breaks between games because both of our competitors here are really trying to strategize against each other.
Mm-hmm. They've got some time to figure out builds. We do put like a 5-minute cap in between sets, and like we can give like one extension if there's like extenuating circumstances. But really, if you're trying to like do like, you'll notice most of these competitors do have their builds kind of ready to go and are able to switch to drastically different builds because they're all pre-prepared. But if you're like kind of in the tank trying to do something on the fly, you got a little bit of time, but not all the time in the world for it.
Yeah, I really can't blame them. It's tough. They're both in really tough positions here.
Right.
These two train together. These two craft builds together. So they really just have to think, what's the other person going to bring, or what are they going to bring because they think I'm bringing this thing.
I wonder if because like sometimes when you're like, if you're in like the high foresight, like you feel like you have the foresight advantage like over like across like a whole like match. It's you kind of have the incentive to like, okay, maybe I can drop a piece of foresight gear here or there, still get the foresight advantage, but maybe get some other advantage with some non-foresight gear. So there is always kind of like the mix-up you got to think about is like, do I now try for foresight because like SOCAM might, in his like comfortability being like the high foresight competitor here, kind of drops a little bit. So there's like kind of like a window. I think there was there one set in against One Trick that SOCAM, I believe there was, where SOCAM didn't have foresight advantage. I could be wrong.
I think so. And it's always a game. How much do you trade away for the sake of going first? Because obviously, almost always, all of the foresight gear is a little bit worse than alternative options that you have.
Absolutely. You don't really get the same defensive stats for sure. You don't get the immunities. Olympia gear is strong because you can also get HP and dexterity. But there are ways to build around like HP heavy builds, and there are ways to build around dexterity builds.
Yeah, and the Olympia gear doesn't have ward, it doesn't have immunities. You're giving all that up for the sake of it.
There was the piece of gear that I was pointing out earlier that I just wanted to just kind of point out from the most recent new raid, which is Hippogriff. Wind Tamer Robe is a really strong piece of gear that wasn't really on my radar until we got into the Swiss rounds. But Swash builds do have a ornate high foresight piece of gear with negative defense, and that's what really like puts it over the top and like has like great foresight stats. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to get into it. Both these players have readied up. It looks like we are on a Bayo Hydrus build from S2. And we are on Berserk. Looks like we're on Mega Tank Raider for SOCAM. So S2 on the Hydrus may have enough penetration to get through. May not. He is on Blades of Finesse. And did get through here. So we are on a really high pen Bayo Hydrus strategy with the 40% crit and 20% parapet enemy, the classic.
Yeah. If there's anything that can get through Mega Tank, it's probably going to be Beowulf Hydrus. Right. Having that built-in hybrid monster, and like they're like the most glass cannon of glass cannon classes.
So like SOCAM, the strategy for the Mega Tank Raider is that, hey, I'm going to use my foresight advantage to build up, but I'm not really putting you on a clock. So if S2 can like survive a few turns,
yeah, all right, look at that.
It's really SOCAM that's on the clock, even though SOCAM has the foresight advantage.
Yeah, I want to point out there, SOCAM had Blessed Shield, he had Golems, he had Deific Channel, and he had Berserk 3. And
Wasn't
all
enough.
of that, he still got hit for, I think, 25k from Red Epi.
So it looks like S2 with a good mix-up. You almost got to think this was just a call-out. We've seen SOCAM fall back to the Mega Tank a few times. And if this is like a rock paper scissors, it's just like S2 had the right call out that like maximum penetration was the way to go for SOCAM in this set 4.
Yeah, and I think if you remember last tournament, I was surprised when SOCAM's Rend Epi got zeroed out by S2. This time S2 is showing that you can build so that Rend Epi will not get zeroed out, and he is just ripping through SOCAM's defenses.
Okay, so that was a clean sweep in set 4. So Knight, that does mean we are now going into our tiebreaker set 5. We are now 2-2.
Yeah, S2 was not in a good place going into this, but he has recovered completely, and he's threatening to take the win.
That's a great comeback. So we it seemed to me that we did have the right call out in this one. We did have we just, you know, if you think it's going to be the Raider build, then as long as you know that you're not in a place where you can get killed by the Ashen Phoenix like quickly. You got all the time in the world to get through and get him with the Rend DP.
Yeah, and Bayo Hydrus definitely. I mean, it has incredibly high offensive stats, but it comes with some pretty major downsides. You're running really low dexterity. You're just going to be missing all the time if your opponent brings Deity, if your opponent brings Realm Shifter.
Right.
Anything with dexterity. Probably even Gilgamesh Ursa. It's probably going to miss a lot against that.
Is Hydrus the lowest? Is it the lowest dexterity of all the like the major? Not like every. I imagine not after every Celestial class, but like of the ones that we're seeing, it's probably like the lowest dexterity option out of all of them.
Yeah, I think it might be. That's really its balancing point in these PvP fights. Is Bayo Hydrus is going to hit hard when it hits, but a lot of the time it's just not.
And it's interesting because Hydrus does have like there's like a world where you can build in some accuracy. Like you can throw Rift Rogue gear in there if you think you're going to have struggles with accuracy. You know, you already have Bestial Bond, so if you throw in like Ashen Phoenix as the pet, you're going to get 7% accuracy there. So there are some ways to kind of mitigate that dexterity chance, but in this in that matchup, he really didn't need it.
Yeah, Bayo on Bayo, Hydrus is always, I think, going to be favored, just because Ariga is sharing that same low dexterity. It just doesn't matter when your pet does the work.
Right. Arena doesn't. It doesn't really matter if you're able to dodge when you have 10 million defense and resistance. So.
Yeah. And the pet block chance and the everything.
All that. So, man, what's gonna be the mix-up for this one? We did get to see Dorado. I wonder if S2 has any Dorado builds. It does seem like the I think that's the first time that we've seen a Baelhydrus in this top 4. And I wonder, like, that's probably your best option. So my guess would be that SOCAM is probably going to move away from the Mega Tank Raider builds. That would be my guess, just because it was so clearly answered by this one that, like, you risk just like basically there's like the mind game factor. You know, S2 probably is going to change it up, but there's always just, you know, in the back of your head, like, man, if I don't change it up and he just stays on that Hydrus build, you know, that might just be it. So it kind of just makes you a little less comfortable using the Mega Tank Raider, even though it was so effective and against, like, a lot of these other strategies.
Yeah, I expect both of them to switch it up heading into the finale.
I do too. We are getting close to game set 5 in this grand finals. S2 bringing it back. It was looking like it was going to be a SOCAM dominated grand finals, but S2 is just saying, don't count me out just yet, guys. I'm coming for the reverse sweep.
Yeah, I don't think we can't complain at all about how this went. I mean, you always want these finals to go to the 5th game, where it's just such a good fight between both competitors.
These guys taking their time, making sure every piece and every adornment is in place, everything's set up right.
Yeah, min-maxing everything, trying to guess what their opponent's going to bring for statuses.
I still want to see a Spike Shield build.
I don't think we're going to.
Give them. If there's a Spike Shield in there, I think I'll throw in an extra 10 scrolls. We'll see. All right, so we did get the ready up from S2. I think we're still waiting on SOCAM for the ready up here. But we are getting close to set 5 in our grand finals. This is going to be the decider. Okay, so SOCAM has readied up. S2 is ready to go. We are going to go ahead and get into it. What are we going to see? Okay, SOCAM with the foresight advantage. What's that Amity Garrison? What's that one?
Hybrid and war turns.
Interesting. So looking for some damage and just wants a couple little extra survivability in the early game.
DD Raider versus DD Assassin. This is
S2 applying the forbid. That's going to be a big issue, especially if we're on,
it might not be.
Ooh, okay.
So it comes on a build where he might be able to just use magic.
Oh, interesting.
Verse is not affected by that attack double down. Verse doesn't care.
Oh. SOCAM has the blind immunity.
There it is.
Verse is going to do it. Okay, so Forbid isn't going to do it. What do we got here? So it looks like we were on Raider. Did we see Berserk?
Yeah, he's on Raider.
Right on. So like hybrid Raider for DD. That's interesting. Okay, so Forbid isn't going to be the one. What else does can S2 do here?
Yeah, bringing a hybrid build here seems like an excellent play against S2's assassin
strategy for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because S2 just can't stop magic and attack at the same time.
It seems like SOCAM has pretty complete status immunities here because he's immune to the blind, he's immune to the freeze. SOCAM looking to be in the driver's seat in this game at least. Oh,
don't speak too soon.
That's way too soon. Trying to bring himself back with the Osmo Strike, and that is going to do it. So we are now. Is that 2-0? Is that 2-0 SOCAM?
I think it's 2-0 SOCAM.
That's 2-0 SOCAM. This is a tournament point for SOCAM. What do we got here?
Could be it. But we've already seen both competitors are capable of killing each other.
That's right.
SOCAM would have died if it wasn't for that second chance.
Very lucky RNG on that one.
Yeah, there is so much going into this. If Oceanus delivers a rune to soak him, that puts it up a lot in S2's favor.
Looking for a Wyvern speed for some extra dexterity.
Really nice guarding strikes. 108 didn't even trigger second chance.
Huge second chance. This might be the one. That second chance did give SOCAM the turn that he needed, and that is going to be a 3-0 sweep in this grand finals. It was a sweep, but the way the RNG went in that set, you almost think that was a 50-50 split. I think there were 2 of those 3 games that were just determined between like a really lucky like second chance. So congratulations to SOCAM taking out the whole competition, going undefeated in sets throughout the Swiss, throughout the top 8, and is going to be our Blades of Finesse champion for this series. That was a really exciting set. What do you think, Knight?
Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic gameplay from both of our competitors here. The variety in sets that each of them brought to the table was excellent.
It really was. It seemed like in the top 4 matches, we were kind of really like focused in on Gilgamesh Ursa, but I mean, I think in that finals, that might have been Didi we saw more than Gilgamesh Ursa, which was really cool.
Yeah, Deity from both of our competitors here, with a nice deity mirror match to finish it off.
It did seem there was a lot of the talk going into the tournament was that like we said, Ursa is probably among our options one of the stronger classes that we have. But you know, we saw a lot of Bayo. We saw some one realm at least. We saw some couple different Bayo strategies. It was a good mix. I thought that I didn't feel like there was really like any one clearly dominant strategy throughout that top 8. It was really just a matter of just like, did we bring in the right mix up from set to set?
Yeah. Definitely a lot of rock, paper, scissors from both of them.
That's always the best kinds of sets that we're gonna have. So let's maybe we can I'd love to go ahead and chat with our top 2. If we're able to maybe bring in SOCAM in, man, I imagine after you know, getting shut out the last Blades of Finesse championship, kind of just bringing it back in such like an exciting kind of like game 5 kind of scenario. Man, I really SOCAM's got to be through the moon right now. SOCAM, are you there?
Holy crap, that was so intense.
You did it, man. Congratulations.
I finally got him. I couldn't sleep after getting 3-0'd by him last time, so I was really hoping for this.
Wow, that was a very, very impressive 5-set match between you guys. There was like tons of like mix-ups and call-outs, and I just, you couldn't like, it seemed like you had him like going into it. Like it seemed like we were set up for like a quick 3-0 sweep from you, and then S2, I mean, I imagine after that fourth set, like what were you thinking? It seemed like, man, like I had such momentum going into the first 2, and now S2 has all the momentum going into set 5. What were you thinking?
I was just hoping, like we practice a lot, obviously, so we know mostly what we have. So it's like rock, paper, scissors, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe they were all 3-0s too. Like it was just, we know what works, and we just try to leverage that.
And so you guys probably have is there like between like in like the Alpine like testing group that you guys have, do you guys kind of have like charted out like what kind of beats what? Does everybody pretty much have kind of like the metagame dialed into that level? That seems like itself like a level of Orna that we really don't kind of get like anywhere else.
Yeah, so I think that's where having the practice group really helps, because we learn we have so many different builds too, and that's
Right.
we see this a lot where people only can play one thing, and you can really take advantage of it because there are hard counters to everything. Everything can be beat. Like
Right,
even
there's
the
no,
counter attack spam too. Like last tournament, we figured that out, but it really limited what we could play because we had to make sure we had that in our back pocket in case somebody started spamming counterattack, and just taking the tempo from us. But yeah, it's a ton of
Now,
fun.
I want to like basically kind of like get into your head about like what you're thinking going into set 5. Like we lose, let's see, Knight, remind me, was it the assassin build that S2 won with in that set 4? Like what was kind of like the thought process bringing in that deity build for set 5?
I knew I needed magic damage,
Right.
and because if I would have played Realm or Gilga, Forbid, we have that down where it hits like every freaking time, even on steadfast classes. So I needed to be like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I
that was
was,
kind of mindset.
That's do you to get forbid to proc like 100% of the time, do you need like multiple pieces of the Fomorian gear, like the
Yes,
assassin
yes,
gear?
you do. Yeah, and assassin. Like it limits what you can build for sure because you need, I think, 2, maybe even 3 pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, we were. As soon as I saw you get forbid in that, I think it was the first game of set 5 or match 5. And then you just had verse sitting there as your first
I know.
skill.
Yeah,
Like it was just, yep, that's not gonna work.
that's not gonna work this time.
So a point of discussion between me and Knight when we were kind of like just figuring out like what was going on for this grand finals was it seemed like to us that there's probably like in like you guys have your play test group, right? You guys
Yep.
like play a lot of the same builds. But is it all the same builds, or like because like if you got to think like going into the tournament that like S2 is probably likely that I'm gonna face him in grand finals, so maybe like I'll hold something back that I really don't quite show him everything, you know?
So yeah, there's definitely that mindset, but like we're so close in Alpine too that we're just like I'm so happy that I even got like I would be happy with second as long as he won, you know what I mean? So
That's awesome.
yeah, like
Yeah,
we have a great time. Like it's more than just Orna for sure because we have a great time with it. Like it's a small kingdom, but we really take PvP pretty seriously.
That's, I mean, clearly, and you guys are clearly doing something right. It does. I have found that like when I build, like I can brew something and I can think of like if I have like an idea for a build, but I find that I really never really know if the build is good or not until like I test it and tweak it with like someone else who's like really good at PvP. I don't know if you find the same thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like there's no perfect build in this game. That's what's so fun with it. Like I'm always bugging him because I just get so OCD and I'm like, I need this perfect build, but there is none. So it's there's a lot of guessing to it too. Like it's rock, paper, scissors, honestly.
Yeah, for those of us that aren't in Alpine, it's brew a build and then head into Blades of Finesse where you face the guy who's just trying to get the spec and doesn't want to play you.
It's a very different experience from general like grinding up Blade of Finesse than in like a live PvP setting where you're adjusting from set to set. It's a really fun meta, and like man, that was a really enjoyable grand finals to watch. Do we have SoCam's build up on the screen so we can kind of take a look at some of the things that were going on? If you don't mind.
What would you like to see?
So is this so right now I think I'm looking at your
deity
screen.
that I just ran.
So this is the raider strategy for this one, and it looks like we have okay. So you're pretty covered on like status immunities. Was that like the call out for because it seemed like one of S2's more successful strategies was doing kind of like the deity assassin route.
Yeah, normally I don't run Anku's because it's like sleep just never works. But I know our joke is like if you sleep somebody, it's pretty rough because there's nothing you can do if you get slept. So I usually have Briny on over that, but this covers most of my bases.
Because like you can't really sleep in the first 2 turns, but if you're gonna live past 2 turns, it's just like I think we a lot of like the higher end like Blades of Finesse like competitors really kind of like focus on the status effects that can be like actually applied on the first 2 turns. But man, if you can get off like a sleep, if you can get off like a petrify or a stasis, I think there's you could really just like it's almost effectively like a one shot if you can just then buy yourself like 3, 4, 5 turns.
Yeah, you're right.
So this is the DD Raider build we were just looking at. Were there like any were there any other builds that maybe like you had like kind of cooked up that maybe didn't make it out into this grand finals?
I'm trying, like, I know you guys talked about it on stream. I was listening a little bit. I'm trying to mess with Deity, but I do think Gilga Ursa is like the go-to right now. But I think there's a rework coming or a change to the counterattack. So that's going to really open up the meta game, and I think Deity is going to be strong again.
It seemed to me like when so it seemed to me that like when you guys were running like the Ursa, it seemed like Oracle was like really like the favorite strategy, which is kind of interesting over Blades of Finesse. Is that like a build we can pull up and maybe talk about? Because I mean what is it? It's like Parapet combined with Pet Block. It seems like really
so that's kind of what we figured out. So Blades of Finesse has no defense, so you don't need a ton. You don't need much attack. Like Realm Strikes 2 can KO it in 1 turn. This is kind of what I was running here, just for like max damage. Let me see. This was the build here. So some Omega Gear, the Axe, basically. Well, I'm not on the Amnesty.
You would have a second Amnesty.
I would have a second Amnesty that was, I think, Pet Block and crit. So you're just really leveraging RNG, which I think we saw in some of those games, especially that 3rd place game. Like even when Oracle Ursa doesn't go first, like you can still get second chance, you get counters, you still so much RNG on your side. Yeah.
But even then, like I mean, I'm looking at 2 pieces of Foresight gear plus the Axe offhand. You're like at like what, like 1,000 Foresight right now? That's still gonna be like beat like a lot of Foresight strategies.
Yeah, so. It's a decent amount. And yeah, we noticed like this is our Blade of Finesse killer build pretty much. You don't need a ton of crit. Like I actually did get unlucky, and my Sortie 2 didn't crit. It's an 18% crit chance, and I only have 81% crit. So that one game I didn't crit, which I was super sad about. It was a 1%. But so, that's kind of why we run that night, because we don't need 95. It really takes away from your stats.
That was my only guess for why you might run Sortie 2 over, is that higher crit chance.
Yeah.
Despite the massively lower M1.
Yeah, because you don't, like, it's just leveraging, like, if you know someone like Thornius has never left Blades of Finesse spec, you know, like, hey, he's probably going to run this.
That was pretty sad to see him run that every time and just get eaten alive by Realm Strikes.
It works. He's like 4th for a reason. He was,
definitely
3rd last time? Like, it really works, but we'll see. He's gonna be sad if that class gets changed too. But he's a smart player, so he'll figure something out.
Absolutely. Well, SoCam, I just want to say congratulations, my man. You did take down the whole tournament, and you took down the whole tournament undefeated, which is in itself just awesome. So definitely one of the strongest Blades of like live PvP players that we have. So you earned it, man. You put on a great performance.
I loved it. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Now I'd definitely stick around, but I'd love to also get S2 on the chat here and talk about kind of how that set went, because that was a very, very competitive best of 5. If we have S2 on, let's maybe we can talk through kind of like what was going on that end. Are you there?
And just to say too, I just like, thanks to everyone. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do it without Alpine, and S2 is the king of Alpine. He's obviously taught me a lot about the game. I'm started, I think the last Ascension level tournament, he was doing pretty good, and I reached out to him. I just started playing the game at like 25 Ascension. I'm like, hey, and then we just started talking, and next thing I know, we're like really good friends, and we love playing the game together.
And I bet right about now he's thinking, man, I just made my job winning these things so much harder by helping SoCam get to the level that he's at right now.
Hey, you're not kidding, but I mean, it makes it a lot more fun to have someone like SoCam to go up against in the finals like this.
I mean, that was an extremely competitive set, and just like we saw multiple different kind of mix-ups from each of you guys. And S2, you also put on an incredible performance, man. And that, like, there were so many like different kind of games there where it just could have gone either way, and that's, I think, man, that was a really fun grand finals to watch. S2, what was kind of like your thinking going into like the start of this set versus SoCam, right? Because we saw really like two different kind of builds from SoCam, like Ursa and the Mega Tank Raider going in the top 4 match. But I'm sure like just all the different kind of things that SoCam is able to pull out.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you guys saw was a true rock, paper, scissors, at least until the last set. Look at the scores. I mean, 3-0, 3-0, 0-3, 0-3. Like, we know what counters what, and that's a testament to it. But that last set, man, he got a couple last chances. He pulled the verse build, so my forbid wasn't working. It really came down to the wire. I thought I almost had the reverse sweep, but well played to SoCam. I've raised a monster. He is the best PvPer now.
That's right. Until it's there's always the king of the hill. Right now it was you last time, and now it's SoCam, and who knows who it's going to be for next time around. S2, what was can you remind me what was your build going into to set 5? Was that the DD Assassin build that we saw a few times from you?
Yeah, would love to give a shout out to Erdrick and Alpine, our newest member, for bringing the creativity and coming up with a build to just flatten all the people running Blade of Finesse. And he came up with a way to always land forbid. And if you mix it with Oceanus, I mean, you're just hitting so many statuses too, and you can control the game.
I mean, forbid is such like a hard status to build around, because you really just need like what's the option? It's just like either the
you need gizmo. You need a gizmo, which I think
gizmo
Dorn
or
is
the
put on.
Does the
Right.
What is it? The
Old Northern.
Old Northern Crown can do it too, but like so few people have a good Old Northern Crown, so it's that's one that's going to catch a lot of people out. Was that a build that you can maybe kind of show us, because it seemed like there was just like a ton going on. I wasn't quite sure like really what I was looking at set to set, but it definitely seemed like that the forbid was like a really really strong option, especially in like a meta that's so like dominated by like AD strategies.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. Let's see.
And I do just want to give a shout out. We do have this was a 3 out of 4 Alpine finals, and we did have one trick who also had a great showing coming in at third in here. So it's whatever you guys got going on. It seems like if people really want to come in and like really like challenge you guys, that it's like the way to go is really just find like good practice partners and just lab.
100%.
Okay, so let's see here. Watch the stream here. So, S2, can you kind of let's see, I'm pulling it up right now. Can you kind of break down what was going on with that DD Assassin strategy? Because that seemed to be like the one that was the build that you could use to kind of beat the foresight strategies from SoCam. Are we there?
I'm not sure if he's here. I love that he's got a Demon Forged item. So dominant.
That's always a sign. That's always a sign that it's like, hey man, I really made a last minute adjustment, and like I'm just kind of just sticking something on the wall here. Okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah,
So we
now
are we can hear you. So we are going ahead and
Okay.
we're looking at S2's gear now. Is this the assassin strategy that we were looking at?
Yeah, so I actually just scooped that cowl recently and I wasn't able to God Forge it, but I mean, hey, it doesn't matter. The strategy isn't to min-max this, it's just to sit someone down with attack double down and
Right.
yeah, let it rip.
With the two Naganine belts, and that is a beautiful beguiled guitar, sir. Just
Oh yeah.
that's you got some awesome gear here for sure.
Dude, I got that on like 20 KC. I got so spooned on that. I'm so lucky.
And it's not even like this build is low foresight, right? You've got the beguiled offhand, you've got wind tamer, you've got quarter set. This is like this is what, like 1100 something like that. That's gonna sound like that would do it against a lot of SoCam's builds too. Are you kind of like
and you can push it even higher too.
in these sets? Is it kind of just like understood in like the Alpine group that like SoCam has the stronger like foresight strategies, so we just kind of try like moderate foresight strategies or foresight counters?
Yeah, in general, he got the better drops for foresight gear, so you got to actually play like a full foresight build to get ahead of it. But I think this build proved though that you can go second as long as you're landing that forbid. It's all good, and you know they give up a lot to out foresight this too, so you can potentially tank it. I mean, look at the defense stats on this; it's pretty good.
Absolutely. And that's an interesting Amity. What was the thinking behind the Word Turns hybrid?
Yeah, so the Ward Turns was mostly just to tank any of the first two turns if needed. Because if I landed a forbid, they could still swing, and if I didn't have the Ward Turns, I might die. And then the hybrid stats is just because I'm not building crit here, right? So I'm trying to juice my M1 as much as possible, and that's the best way to do it.
So that is those are hybrid augments on the quarterstaff, is that right?
Yeah, those are Celine hands. Those are my crap ones.
It's okay. That's a very interesting build. Were there any other strategies that you thought like might do well in this set? I know this wasn't the mega tank counter, was it? Because that came out in set 4 with the Hydrus build.
But if I maybe have some ideas to build this to counter the mega tank too. I mean, you can just burn, rot, throw those damage over times on the tank if you're running assassin, and you'd still have a shot, right?
How much? Because the Fomorian gear, the headpiece, that actually gives increased damage over time damage too. So like that's kind of an option, right?
Yep, exactly. Also gives blight. Fun fact: blight immune.
That one gives blight immune. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. There's not too many things that does. That's definitely going to be an item. Those of you who are trying to like gather up gear for live PvP to be on the lookout when Femoria comes back up.
Yeah, definitely. Too, so it's not going to come back for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Eventually
right. Next year.
But in terms of other builds, though, I wanted to showcase Bayo Hydrus. I knew SoCam would throw the tank at some point, and if you juice enough, you can get through.
Not to talk over you, I apologize. It did seem like the time you brought it out at like the perfect time, because like you could bring that build out, and if you brought that build out like against like a Raider strategy, like DD Raider or Realm Raider, like that might just be it, right? Is that a build that we can that you could show us, the Hydrus BOF?
Oh man, I totally just whipped that up on the spot, and I've already changed the build. But the gist of it is, it was Blade of Finesse. Go low defense, high crit. I had a Crow Song offhand and a Loot main hand, and just went to town.
Wow, it's just like max hybrid. That's awesome.
Yeah, did not have that loaded out. I just kind of thought SoCam would go tank, and I don't quite have the Gersta Blade of Finesse gear to outdo the tank, so I went Hydrus and got through.
I was talking about, because there was a pretty big moment last PvP tournament when we saw I think Sokum's Rend Epi gets zeroed out by you on a Mega Tank build. And when you brought that Hydrus build, it was alright. This is a build that is not getting zeroed out by the Mega Tank build. Because that's really what Hydrus excels at, is just having a ludicrously high attack stat.
Sure.
All right. Well, S2, you know, that was a close best of 5. So we did also just put on like an awesome showing. How did you? I do want to come back to the match with Thornius, because that was did that go 3-1? How'd you feel the round with Thornius went?
Man, Thornius and I, that's probably our 3rd or 4th matchup, I think. And as you can see on his nameplate, his favorite class is Swashbuckler. So, you know, just use that to your advantage. And yeah, pretty much all it took for me.
Right on. Well, I do want to congratulate both y'all. S2, maybe you could start. Was there's anything else that you have for us? But yeah, I thought you put on a good showing. Just love to hear from you.
Yeah, no, nothing more on the build side. I appreciate Sokum for motivating me to make a good showing this time around. I gotten a little lazy lately, and he definitely deserved it. He's been really hungry for that title. So, you know, shout out to him. We've had a lot of fun testing builds and coming up with new stuff. Shout out to our new Alpine guys. We got Mobile Wonder and Erdrick, who brought a lot of brain power to our crew as we come up with builds and test stuff. And yeah, we just have a lot of cool stuff going. Thrinkles, One Trick, Cranny, Cam, and Soulless. We got a good group going. It's a lot of fun over there. If y'all like PvP, give us a shout.
Right on, right on. And SoCam, of course, congratulations, sir, on being the one to take this whole thing down. Before we sign off, I'd love to hear from you as well. How are you feeling about the whole tournament overall, and kind of like what you saw and how you did?
Oh, thank you so much. No, I loved it. Thank you so much for putting in the time. And I know it probably takes hours of your time putting this together and posting rounds and messaging people. I'm sure there's a lot of drama that we don't even see, but thank you so much for putting your time in and doing this.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. I do love. I feel like I love live PvP the same way that I know that you guys do, and I want to see it continue, and I just want to see it grow and evolve, and I'm happy to be a part of it, and I do. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Unfelt Battle Club, who have been running some like another basically avenue for live PvP, but I'm really happy that that like the big like multi-round Swiss cut to top 8 like 1v1 tournament, like the best of the best, like that still continues, because it's really exciting to see like one person kind of take it all down. And today that was you, SoCam. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and shout out to you guys, JustFold, especially you, but Knight and Margin too, for putting this on. I know it's a selfless act and thankless as well to be spending all this time and all these hours when you're not participating. So like, shout out to you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you. I do yeah, I wanna give a shout out to Margin, who's it's me and Knight on the casting, but Margin's also helped us out with like a ton of work on the back end, and he's really like also like a major part to like why this can all come together. And just shout out, love having you, buddy. And Knight, to you as well. I mean, thank you for all that you do, just in the community, but also just kind of helping us put this together. Knight, how are you feeling about how this all went down?
Yeah, I think this went really, really well. S2 said that you and I weren't participating. Well, we tried. Both of us definitely tried to get into the top 8, and I did get into the top 8 and died quickly.
That's what happens when you fight SoCam.
Yeah, I mean, that's how everyone found this tournament.
Oh boy. Well, that was a really exciting grand finals. I hope everybody viewing enjoyed it. We do have SoCam as our grand champion, who is going to take the bulk of our prize pool. Is going to take 300 summoning scrolls for himself, and the exclusive in-game title generously provided by Dangy and Northern Forge. So we appreciate them for their support. We appreciate everybody who kind of came out and was competing with all. We are running. We are going to try to continue the big like Swiss like 1v1 style tournament. And in the meantime, there's some live PvP action going on at the Unfelt Battle Club Discord, which I've got to participate in. I'm having some fun with it. They're on like a couple different types of events, and it's good to just see like more PvP, see it growing, see lots of different strategies grow and evolve, and that's kind of just like really like my favorite part about this game. So I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm happy to have to really got to really just chew on that grand finals. That was a lot of fun. All right.
Sounds good.
Well, Knight, if do you have anything else, sir? Because I think that might do it. Once again, it's a great time.
No, I don't have anything else. Looking forward to the third tournament because we should have some nice shakeups, maybe some new events, some new updates. See
Right.
how the meta changes between now and then.
There wasn't like a huge meta change between like the last Blades of Finesse and this one. I mean, we had the counterattack ban and a couple like one class rework. But we got the balance patch coming up. We've got always new like gear and like new content coming out. And I think we're gonna keep seeing like the live PvP scene grow and evolve. And it's never solved. There's never just like a one build that just beats everything. So there's always like a lot of decision making and a lot of like skill that kind of comes into these live PvP grand final sets and just all these final sets. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope y'all are looking forward to it.
Yeah, and just have fun with it, guys, too. Come up with multiple builds. Like, just try to think outside the box. Don't play the same thing over and over.
I think it's you can change up gear pieces round to round, but to really kind of like give yourself the edge you need, I think it's definitely important to have like a couple builds to be able to kind of like rotate back and forth between. And SoCam and S2, you guys have definitely gone ahead and proven that for sure. All right.
Unless you're Thornius.
Well,
If
you
you-
know
if you're
what?
curious,
If
then
you
you can
get
make
to
it
if you get to this stage and you're doing something right, so that's I think you can definitely like do lots of different things and make it work. Once again, everybody, I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I'm Just Fold, joined today by Knight and Margin, and our competitors, One Trick, S2, SoCam, and Thornius. Y'all have made this a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the next one. I do just want to thank everybody once again for coming on out. This is Just Fold. Appreciate everybody, and we'll see you next time.